All right, Jim, we're excited to
Chris.
have you here. And
Thank
it's
you.
particularly exciting because we want to talk about education here at the forum, right? And you have one of the, let's say, original robotics programs in the educational
The
world.
OG.
The OG, as I said it before, Lake Superior State University. So, with Manufacturing Happy Hour, we always like to say, hey, describe it to us as if we're having a beverage with one another and relaxing at the end of the workday or something. So tell us a bit how this whole how this all got started, and then we'll get into some of the education topics.
Absolutely, Chris, and thanks for having me, and you, and likewise, Jake. OG, I was just thinking it'll be wonderful if it eventually becomes the GOAT.
GOAT, greatest of all time. Hey,
So maybe we got two letters there.
absolutely, I love it.
Lake Superior State University was the first university in the United States to start a bachelor's degree in robotics engineering technology. This was in 1985. And it was inspired by a very visionary dean of engineering then, who could foresee what's happening in the robotics world. And of course, at that point, robotics was still a grunge thing where it was doing some welding or something like that at GM. And the fact that he saw that this was potentially going to be something that's going to take off. He figured that, well, let's make a mark. Let's be one of the first universities to train students who are not just theoretically competent, but also practically competent. So kind of bring in the applied aspects of robotics into the engineering technology field. And so we got going on that. And then that was the starting point. And then, probably just good fortune. I'm glad it wasn't some other field where we just took a dive after that. The field just continued to grow, and actually didn't grow a whole lot in the 80s and 90s. In fact, we had some tough times in terms of industry, still kind of confused as to how do we use these robots, and the expertise we're not really sure. And it's really in the 2000s we could clearly see that growth. And then, of course, in the last 5 years, it just I think the way the industry is adapted and trying to make robotics not something it's like, it's only for the big boys, but trying to have it something that's available for medium and small industries, the collaborative robots and things like that, where you can quite easily and affordably implement robotic systems, and then throw in pandemic, throw in labor shortage, throw in supply chain issues. Now it seems like, as you can see from the A3 conference, that there seems to be a lot of interest and growth in the use of robotics. So because of that start, one of the big advantages we have over other universities is the fact, like, we have 36 years of graduates out there. And then I'll put in Scott Lindemann's name in there. He was one of those graduates who graduated about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I'll age him. And they're doing some amazing work as engineers, managers, vice presidents, CEOs, whatever. And that has helped us continue to grow with support from industry and partners like that, where we are doing continue to do robotics. And now we moved into offering a degree in robotics engineering, a degree in mechatronics, and now robotics has also become part of our electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, because just the nature of the field, it's multidisciplinary. Makes sense to educate people, to get them aware of that.
So let's go to a couple things. You mentioned Scott Lindemans. So for those of you who are listening to the audience, Scott Lindemans, as Jim said, was a student of Lake Superior State University. And then for me, my relationship to Scott Lindemans is Scott was the first person who hired me into the manufacturing industry. So when I was in high school, 16 years old, Scott hired me in. I cleaned the shop floor. I swept. I blew out the CNC machines. I wiped down the acetone on weldments. And that got me into manufacturing right away. So it's crazy how that, just inspiration of educating has spread throughout the position, where I might not have been here if Scott didn't hire me for that job to go and work for JR Automation at the time.
Yeah, isn't he an awesome guy? He's been amazing. He's been an inspiration for a lot of he was even in our board of trustees at the university because of his you noticed that yesterday, his genuine connection with education and wanting to help young people. I'm not surprised. And so it looks like you were bonding with the robots and manufacturing even as of a 16-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive deeper into education. Why is it so important? Because I know Scott gives back, right? He the position he's in, where he's at, but he still gives back to education universities because it gets it. Why is it so important for manufacturers, no matter what size you are? You could be a small to medium sized builder of 20 employees, or you could be a Fortune 100 company. It doesn't matter. Why is it important to invest in education in our future workforce?
Yeah, good question. Because it's just simple supply and demand. I mean, what they are finding where the technology is going, and they need talented people, and and of course, they talented people come in different ways, and they can hire from. People who have experience from other companies, they can do. I know in this field especially, there's a lot of poaching, just because it's supply and demand, and
Yeah, absolutely.
but I think industries are beginning to see that there is a lot of value in bringing somebody who's young, has the ability to learn. I mean, that's what a good university is supposed to do, right? Give them the ability to learn technology. They really shouldn't be an expert at any one thing, but they should have a good broad background so that if a company like 3M or Fanuc Robotics or whomever wants them to work on a certain aspect, they have the basic foundation to do that. So the industry is now finding that what can we do to bring in such young individuals who are not already set in their ways, and they are willing to learn what is the culture and the way they're doing their technology in their firm, and then bring them up from there. So the connection with the universities,
Yeah.
as well as having some influence in terms of what actually a curriculum, a good robotics or engineering curriculum should have, has been very valuable. And for us in the education side, I mean, what's more important? I mean, they are our customers. Ultimately, our products are our students. So we should be able to have our products sellable.
Yeah.
And if they are providing input and we follow along, and they are then finding that they are valuable assets for them, it's working out really well. So industry is certainly a big component. The industry collaboration happens in so many different ways, apart from just hiring graduates. They can provide equipment, expertise, work with projects with the students, and of course, funding is something is helpful in terms of scholarships and so forth. Thereby, when and internships, so that these students, when they're even young sophomores or juniors, they get an idea about what the field is about, get excited, make some money along the way, and then become good, viable engineers.
So one on that topic to wrap things up, Brad. I don't know if everyone knows this. I think some people might assume, but Lake Superior State University, you're like Upper Peninsula,
Yeah.
right? So when we talk about the tie-ins with industry, you mentioned you had a proactive dean there at the start that really got the robotics program going. But what is the industry like up in the UP, right? What was there a relation to robotics that said, hey, this is the spot to start a program? I'm just curious.
Fantastic question. Sometimes the question brings back the one question sometimes, because what are we doing here in the UP? Why are we not in
I know
Detroit
there
or
was
Grand
like
Rapids?
copper up there. I
Yeah.
visited the
So-
UP. Yeah,
so,
no. It's,
so the one industry is
Fishing,
that's for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
fishing, and it's very hospitality based town. So the answer is no. We don't have automation based industries. The nearest robotics company from Sault Ste. Marie is in Escanaba, which is about 2.5-3 hours away, where they have some robotics in their facilities. But you can see how uh, when industry is looking for folks, they don't they reach out much more than the local area. So we just got a communication with Simplematic Automation in Virginia, for example, because once the graduates go out there and they prove themselves, it doesn't matter where they are, and if they have to reach out to a small school in the Upper Peninsula, it is working out. But I must admit, though, that there are times when we wish there was a very strong industrial manufacturing base nearby, because that would help, like for example, a student who wants to do an evening internship, or we
Sure.
want to hire an engineer, not hire, but a guest speaker to come from a company to come and mingle with the students. Those kind of aspects we miss out on. But in today's world, as you know, with Zoom and all of that, we really have been able to overcome that. And I feel that our location is good and bad. Is good from a perspective that there are a lot of students who come from Detroit area, Grand Rapids area, like Scott Lindemann, because they want to go into a small school where the class size is small and you get that one-on-one attention, but you don't have to pay the price of a private university. So we are one of the 15 state universities in Michigan, and we are the smallest. So our average class size like 14 students,
Okay.
but you still pay the state prices. So students do come from far away.
Sure.
And that's the nice thing when they want to get away from home, maybe. On the other hand, the remoteness also means a little bit more challenge in recruitment of students because we are not
Yeah.
very visible. We are like Michigan State, or Michigan's right there with the population is and stuff like that. So it's good. It depends on how you look at it. And then of course there's the issue like on a day like today, like will I ever get home with
Yeah.
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 Full-
Flying back,
yeah.
weather is an issue today.
Right.
Well, if I heard one thing from that, or make a generalization, it's right. We should never let location stop us from doing
Absolutely.
what we want to do or what's
Absolutely.
important. So,
That's such a good point. And in today's world especially, right? I mean, with all the technology that's coming in terms of reaching from with media and other means, it's not bad. I mean, I still remember when I joined Lake State 35 years ago, and we just had one Kmart, and that's about it. And
Yeah.
all our shopping was on Kmart. Today, it's like Amazon.com. I mean,
Yeah.
wherever you live,
yeah.
the stuff gets shipped to you in 2 days, right? So it's worked out. I mean, so Sault Ste. Marie is quiet, and it's an international border with Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and it's gorgeous and beautiful. It depends. We have 4 very distinct seasons, and it depends on how you kind of take these seasons. And if it's winter and it's a lot of snow, you could sit inside and go, oh my gosh, it's so cold out there, or you can put on your snowshoes and get out there and have fun.
Go ice fishing.
Right, go ice
Absolutely. Go
fishing, right? Your
snowboarding.
snowboarding, or your go snowmobiling. They even have snowmobiles you can rent, just for a day and have a good time. Come back and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, from the snow up in the Upper Peninsula down here to Orlando, where we're having the A3 conference, Jim, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
thank you very much, Chris and Jake. Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Have a good rest of your time here.
Likewise.
Take care.